This is the Origin 100i, and despite what anyone may tell you, it's all you need to start making money in Star Citizen. This isn't a sales pitch on what starter ship you should buy, but a guide to show you how to get the most out of whatever ship you choose. Whether it's because that's all you can afford, or because you don't want to give Chris Roberts any more of your hard-earned cash.
We'll get him next time.
For our purposes, a starter ship is going to be considered the cheapest price point that gets you in the game. There aren't a ton of ship options that fit this description, but this early game strategy does have a few requirements. Your ship must have some cargo space. The Origin 100i is listed as having 2 SCU, that's plenty. The similarly priced Cutter and the C8X Pisces are both listed at having 4, and the slightly more expensive Avenger Titan has 8. And there's the Mustang Alpha, which is the only fighter option and amongst the cheapest to get you in the game. These are all standard prices, but it's worth noting that starter packages regularly go on sale. Like, I'm pretty sure my 100i starter pack was only $55 instead of $65. So really the only starter ship that doesn't fit our needs here is the Aurora MR, which is fine. Tell me why you would pick the Aurora down in the comments. If you did foolishly buy an Aurora MR or happen to have started with another ship that doesn't have cargo space, don't worry, you're still going to be able to use this strat after a little bit of extra work. Or you may look at this as if you just started playing the game, but if you do have some experience, but just have less experience with things like bunker missions, you're still going to find a lot of this information useful. So you've just started, you have 20,000 AUEC in your account. I think that's what I had last time I came back. First, fly to your nearest space station. It's gonna be easier for you to loot up there and easier to find all the things you're looking for. I do not suggest that you buy a full kit of armor, especially if you're comfortable in your FPS skills. Get a heavy helmet, a heavy chest armor, and the largest possible backpack. As for guns, I suggest you go for the P4 AR. You're gonna regularly find ammo for it, and the damage is gonna be better than any of the SMGs. Buy some ammo and a few med pens. Now, go to the cargo level and buy a 1 SCU crate. Even if your ship can hold more than one, I find filling up a 1 SCU crate usually takes multiple standard missions anyway. While you're at the cargo shop, buy a pyro multi-tool and a tractor beam attachment. This will soon be your most used item in the game, because even when you're a mercenary, you still get to do cargo. Before you leave the station, I suggest setting your respawn at that medical center. Spawning at station just makes for an easier restart/recovery process. If you have any experience in the game, it's not surprising we're gonna focus on mercenary missions, specifically bunker missions. But we're gonna focus on some things that are easy to overlook if you're new to the game or mercenary missions, so this will still be useful to you. You can do this on any of the 4 planets, but I've tested it the most and I would suggest doing it on Crusader or ArcCorp. I'm not exactly sure how mission spawning works, but both Hurston and Microtech have the new Copian hunting missions, which apparently give good rep, but they do take up space on the mercenary mission board. Speaking of rep and focusing on a planet, it's true across the board that as you successfully complete missions, your relevant rep increases, thereby unlocking better paying versions of these jobs, as well as better paying specific/specialty contracts. This obviously nets more money over time, but this is just going to be a bonus for us. Lastly, mission location is always useful to be aware of, regardless of what gameplay you're involved in. Taking multiple bunker missions on the same moon, multiple cargo missions on the same route, or even combining something like this distribution center mission with a missing person mission for a 100k payout can all save you time and get you paid and leveling rep quicker. A note about stacking missions and Star Citizen in general. Star Citizen is an alpha, and while it's currently in a much better state than it was a year ago when I started, bugs still happen. Thankfully, as of 3.24.2, things like cargo rep won't be negatively impacted, but if you run into missing markers, unspawned enemies, or other bugs, record and report to be part of the process, maybe ask in global chat to be sure that it's broken, and then abandon and move on. Your time is more valuable than any rep that you could gain, unless you really want to see if you can figure something out. Move on. Now that we're prepared, get your box in your ship. And accept a defend site or confidential materials mission. If you're brand new or not especially confident in your FPS skills, do a couple defend site missions first to get a feel for the bunker layouts. They're modular so they can have different layouts, but knowing the rooms should keep you from getting blindsided. These are all fairly straightforward. Go to the site, kill 15 pirates. Be aware that allied security forces might still be present, and that now both they and pirates may spawn outside of the bunkers themselves. While those allied guards should have a green marker, it's not guaranteed, and recently when they spawn outside of the bunker, they can be right on top of a pirate. So you want to melee takedown and then take out the pirate accordingly. This should avoid you getting a crime stat for shooting any guards. If If you go down that elevator to the bunker and there's still shooting going on, it's very likely that some of those guards are still standing, so be on the lookout. Before you go down the elevator though, use your tractor beam to bring in your 1 SKU crate. Sometimes it's easier to back into than to go forward through the doors with these bigger crates, but see what feels best for you. Once you've taken out all the pirates, you'll have 30 minutes before you're considered trespassing. This is plenty of time to loot the bunker, but if you have a solo pirate and can tell the marker isn't moving, you can start looting to give yourself a little extra time. I suggest dragging guns to an area or dragging your crate to an area where multiple enemies dropped to make looting easier. Now, we should just take everything, right? Like if it's not bolted down, just throw it in the crate. No. Not only is it tedious to remove all the armor from NPCs, only helmets and chest armor are really worth selling, but chest armor will quickly fill up your crate and won't be as lucrative as guns. If you're just starting out, I do recommend doing a bunker run just for yourself to get at least a couple sets of undersuits and armor, multiple guns, and meds and ammo. Having to buy armor and guns is a waste of your hard work and really shouldn't be necessary. So what should you loot? Guns. Lots of guns. In a defense site 10K bunker, you can also grab helmets as they'll sell for between 1 and 1,500 a piece, and you won't fill up a crate from a single mission. Here's a list of helmets from Crusader with values. For prices of items, you can always check UEX Corp, which I'll link down below. As for what guns you should focus on or opt for if space gets limited, here's a list of those. Note that some prices are more or less universal, while some places pay up to 1,000 more for certain guns. For something like the P4AR, I'll save up a whole crate before selling them all at Everest Harbor, where it's worth around 130K total. Also be sure to check out red crates and bunkers that have rare weapons or other colorways of armor. Selling these guns directly to other players could net you more than a shop, and it's also worth keeping some of the ones that you can't buy regularly for yourself. Also watch for general loot crates that have special multi-tools and health crates that have med guns. These are more for personal stock than selling, but as long as you're looting these and taking ammo and meds off of NPCs, filling up your backpack, you'll never be wasting credits on gear. Since I came back in 3.24, bunkers have been very reliable bug-wise, but looting like this does ensure that you make money even if the mission bugs out in some way, like an enemy not spawning. Now that you're acquainted with bunkers, you might remember I mentioned confidential materials missions. These are where you can make a lot of money right away and why your ship needs a little bit of cargo space. These missions can even make regular bunker missions more valuable if you know what you're looking for. First, some tips on the mission itself. It revolves around getting the code off a data pad, then entering it in this terminal, then taking the confidential materials to the drop-off point. Simple enough, right? The mission data pad is always on a heavy NPC that spawned at the start when you enter the bunker. They're notable by their large silver backpack. Enemies come in waves during this mission, so it's important to watch your back and use cover effectively. The mission's also long enough that it means that bodies will eventually despawn, so it's important to get that data pad off that heavy NPC before that happens. I usually try to loot the data pad as soon as possible after taking out the heavy, while being on the lookout for any other enemies. Backpacks aren't something that you can frequently loot, so I usually throw that into my crate when I loot the data pad. I don't suggest actively using the backpack during this mission, as I tried once and it did disappear on me. It's also possible for the mission to time out, so I suggest entering the code on the data pad as soon as possible in between waves. Before the most recent patch, the pirates were a bit more talkative than what they are now.
The blades are showing, but don't worry, I'll find them.
But it's still pretty easy to tell when you're in between waves. And once you're at the terminal, you do have pretty decent cover. So the starter version of these missions is around 15K, and you can fill a crate with valuable guns, but that's still only around maybe 65K for the better part of an hour. This is where the other data pads come into play. Oh yeah, there's more. In higher tiers of this mission, there is more than one confidential material to deliver. These other data pads are found on the unmovable bodies of the guards, strewn across the bunker floors. At any level, these pads and the mission pads have the chance of holding valuable materials besides the ones for the mission. Not gold, not titanium, not agricium, not even laranite, unless you really want to take the time for it. Laranite's only worth maybe a couple thousand, and it only sells at TDD at main cities. You're looking for the gems Dolivine, Aphorite, and Hadanite. Their value increases in that order: 16,250 for a box of Dolivine, 19,062 for a box of Aphorite, and 34,375 AUEC for a box of Hadanite. That's right, that's per box of these little gems. This means that solo, in an hour, in your $45 to $60 starter ship, you can make upwards of 300,000 credits when you look at mission, guns, loot, and gem boxes. This gets easier the better you are with the tractor beam, and easier still if you have some help. Is this 100% every time? No. 300K is the max I've hit, but they've rarely missed. And even before I realized potential bugs, I was still making 10 times the mission amount. Not to mention, plenty of players are still leaving these boxes lying around, so even in a 10K bunker mission, you can come out with multiple boxes. People just don't realize, or maybe they don't care, how valuable a single box of Aphorite is, which isn't that rare. I'm still in junior contractor, so I'm not sure if turret defenses might get involved at higher tiers, which if you don't have a decent gun and shields, basically a fighter, that can be an issue. Missions like destroy drugs for 55K or clear criminal nests seem like better paying starter missions, but I would avoid these unless you have the firepower to deal with the turrets and enemy ships that can come along with those. Remember that firing missiles at a bunker turret gives you a level 2 crime stat regardless of who's shooting at you from them. My personal goal was 3 million credits so that I could purchase a vulture and try out salvage while still having a few $100,000 left over, and I've already made all that money back. I heard it's supposed to be available to rent again in the recent patches, but haven't seen it, and regardless of your goals, these tips will help you get there no matter your starter ship, and not to mention easily getting you to a place that you can rent a variety of ships and try out all the gameplay Star Citizen has to offer. I think that covers every aspect of being a very lucrative bunker rat, but let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything I missed down below in the comments. Feel free to watch my other Star Citizen videos and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this and other stories from Stanton. Join me at twitch.tv/theyngprince. I'm streaming Star Citizen, other survival crafting games, fun events and challenges right now. I've been your casual 100-eye enjoyer, the Young Prince. Please keep our space stations clean. I'll see you out there.